Peter will appear at any moment.
Yeah, sure, Jacinta. Yeah, you can start.
Yeah. Okay. So, welcome back, everybody. My name is Jacinthe Pouliot. I'm professor at Université Laval in Quebec, Canada. So this time I'm really lucky because I am on the same zone time compared to New York City. But I know that it's not always the case for everybody. So next time, so we'll see where we're going to be for the next 3D cadastre workshop. So I'm pleased to chair this session about the future in 3D land administration framework or system. We'll see. So we're going to have 4 presentations. And so it's going to be, as this morning, it's going to be a 13 minutes presentation plus 5 minutes, about 5 minutes of discussion. So I'm asking you if you have questions, so use the Q&A interface to enter your questions. So we're going to start with the first presenter, with the first speaker. It's Nur. She is a master's degree at TU Delft, but she's not in Delft. That's what I heard, and she is Asia, and the internet is not good. So that's why we're gonna have a recorded presentation of his talk, and after that we can have her for discussion. So can you start it?
Hello, my name is Nur An-Nisa Milyana. I graduated with master degree in geomatics at Delft University of Technology. I work on user experience research for the visualization purpose.
Whoops.
One moment,
Okay.
please.
We will start again.
Let me check.
Hello, my name is Nur An-Nisa Milyana.
Okay, thank you, Nur. So can you join me on the stage? Thank you for this interesting talk. I think it is very good idea. So the idea is to have participant people, citizen integrated in the participation for to elaborate planning activities, and I think it is a good plan to have subdivided in groups. That's the idea, if I understand correctly the presentation, and so you have divided in 4 phases, in 4 steps, if you want. And maybe I will ask you the first question. Are you there, Noor? Is it? Can
Yes,
you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
I am here, but unfortunately, I cannot turn on my video. So I
No,
will
that's
be
okay. The
without.
sound is good, so we can work it this way. So my first question would be, can you tell us a few some of the comments that the participant mentioned when they were participating in this activity? How do they react? Can you tell us a bit more about their feeling? They were happy? What was their opinion about the work you have done? Can you say a bit more words about that, please?
Yes. So actually, in Indonesia, it is very common activities for us to participate during the plan making process, especially in a neighborhood scale. But we often do it in an offline situation. Therefore,
Okay.
for this research, I tried to invite several people, especially from the GIS and non-spatial planning background. And based on the test, they were very happy, and they felt like they could contribute more by using their opinion, which is as you can see, it seems like they can just click on the map, but in reality, those kinds of inputs are very, very helpful, especially for us as a GIS researchers to know about in detail the what kind of vision that the common citizens have for the future planning process in a specific location.
Okay, yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, in fact, it's true that usually 3D models are really attractive for people who don't use to work with 3D model, because the maps, they used to have maps. So that's why I was thinking maybe it should be really interesting for them for having. Maybe I have a question, and after that I can go in Q&A. Can you tell us a bit more about how can you integrate any cadastral information? It could be about ownership or easement or any kinds of object related to cadastre in your model. How did you have some discussion about that, or how did you see that?
So the main data set from our web application is actually from the spatial the land use plan, and also from the existing cadastre map. However, in this maybe it can also answer. I saw some questions already popping up. However, in this sense, the 2D cadastre map that I incorporate in here, I exclude the ownership details, such as the right and restriction information, because the purpose of this tools is to increase the participation, and within this in mind, perhaps several individual information can restrict them from expressing their opinions.
Okay. So we're going to Q&A. So the first question is, can you change size, orientation of a new 3D object in the 3D plan. So we saw that there was some interaction. Can you answer this first question, please?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is still in an early stage, so I have not put any functionality to change size or nor the orientation for the object.
Okay. And there were no restriction, for example, for moving from one place to another, because if you are moving an object that has some legal value, so you cannot move it as you want. I mean, you didn't integrate any constraint for moving an object, no?
The constraint that we put so far is the 3D land use. So
Okay.
what it means that when they overlay it with the land use, they can't see it by themselves. Okay, I want to put a house in a park, which is not correct, something like that.
Okay. Okay, good. The second question is, could you could also 3D ownerships parcel when available be added? So for now, I think the second question is, how is the aid of the bidding were obtained? And maybe can you go to the second question about the ownership parcel? Can you say a few words about that, or?
Yeah, so about the 3D ownership parcel, I think it will be in different case, because for the ownership parcel itself, it should be an existing data set. However, we can put it in the tools, but it is not. It should not be something for a participation purpose. Like someone cannot just change other people's parcels on the web.
Okay.
But it can be an input data set.
Okay, thank you. I think do we have a last one? I don't know. I don't have the timer. If Tisha, so I don't know if I'm long or short. Is there a possible difference of interaction with the prototype from different user? Yeah, that was also my question. Is there any group of participants that you have taken into consideration in your experiment?
So during our experiments, actually it is also shown in the presentation. However, I think it is too small. So we differentiate it into 4 actors.
Okay.
The first one is planning, second one is GIS, the third one is intermediaries, which means that they understand spatial plan and also GIS, but not in the expert level. And the third one is laypersons, which means that they do not understand anything about spatial plan or GIS.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think we will have to go to the paper to see the exact result for group. It was sometimes a bit difficult to catch it in the video, so I invite the audience to go to the paper, so it's going to be there. So thanks again, Nur, and hope, yeah, thank you, and wish you good for the next development of your approach. So I think we're gonna move on to the next speaker. So his name is Abdul Kara. So I will let you introduce yourself and your talk, please.
Abdullah, it's the white button at the bottom. You share next to the microphone and the camera.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Okay, we can see now your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Poet. So good evening from the Netherlands. Today, I'm here to present our joint research paper named Requirements and Opportunities for Web-Based 3D Visualization and Dissemination of Property Valuation Information. First of all, I would like to thank to all co-authors, Professor Peter van Oosterom from Delft University of Technology, Mr. Ruud Kathmann from the Council of Real Estate Assessment, and the Professor Christiaan Lemmen from the University of Twente and the Cadastres. So this is the content of the presentation.
Abdullah, sorry, but we can only see your first slide in edit mode and not in the presenter mode. So maybe try to switch to the presentation mode. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, thanks.
Sorry. This is the content of the presentation. I first would like to mention why visualization and dissemination of valuation information is necessary and required. And then I would like to mention our research question. Then the requirements analysis we made for the 3D visualization and dissemination of valuation information will be mentioned. And I would like to show our developed but unfinished prototype to you, and the presentation ends with the conclusion and future work. So why valuation, visualization and dissemination of valuation information is necessary? As you all know, immovable property value is one of the key components of land administration systems. As the value is used as inputs in many land administration processes, such as land acquisition, taxation, transaction, land readjustment and transaction, and so on. According to the World Bank Policy Research Working Paper, urban transformation is most efficient when land markets are grounded in strong institutions that enable public disseminations of public dissemination of property values across uses. And moreover, the new urban agenda also encourages to visualize and disseminate valuation information. According to new urban agenda, property values and land and housing price records needed to assess changes in values should be recorded and shared. And the visualization opportunities for dissemination of timely and reliable valuation information should be utilized. In the last decade, valuation information is increasingly disseminated in digital form through the web. For example, in the Netherlands, starting from the 2016, assessed values and valuation dates of residential properties are publicly disseminated through footprints of apartment units. In these prototypes, also some characteristics of property units are also shared. For example, construction year, property function, and floor size is also shared in this prototype. However, 3D visualization of valuation units is required in order to disseminate valuation information more effectively and efficiently. In fact, some of the recently developed 3D cadastral prototype models include value as a characteristics of property units. So this leads to ask the following question: Can a 3D cadastral prototype models be seen as an effective tool to disseminate valuation information? And this question leads us to our research questions, which are: can an identical or a modified version of a 3D cadastral visualization prototype be considered as an effective tool for dissemination of valuation information? And what are the requirements and opportunities for web-based 3D visualization and dissemination of valuation information? So as you know, in valuation processes, legal and physical property characteristics are used as input data to calculate the property values. But which one should we visualize to disseminate valuation information? Legal space, physical space, or both of them? According to the International Association of Assessing Officers, land and property rights to be valued is the fundamental information for valuation. Therefore, we can say that land registry and cadastre can be considered as the main data source for both valuation processes and the visualization of valuation units, as they record the rights, restrictions, and responsibilities and their associated spatial units. We determine two cases. In the first case, if the basic legal unit, basic administrative unit is identical to basic valuation units, then an identical version of the 3D cadastral visualization prototype can be used to disseminate valuation information, but with some modification. Some additional characteristics should be added and some functionalities should be added. But in some jurisdictions, basic legal units differs from the basic valuation units. In this case, some geometrical modifications are required, for example, aggregation of legal units to valuation units. But in both cases, the experience gained from the studies that developed the 3D cadastral visualization prototype can be utilized for 3D visualization and valuation units. We investigate the following studies to determine the requirements, which requirements are similar with 3D cadastral prototypes. And we use the given categories below there. The first category are users and users requirements. The second category are data sources, data schemas for storage, and semiotics, data semiotics. And third category is the appropriate GeoWeb viewer. So we derived these characteristics, these requirements for 3D cadastral visualization. These requirements are also valid for 3D visualization of valuation units. The users can be lawyers, notaries, real estate agents, general public in both cases. And the user requirements can be 3D geometric boundaries should be identified. Private and common parts in apartment buildings can be represented and distinguished. 3D measurements can be performed. Interactive 3D user interface should be available. And as for the data, descriptive or legal documentation can be included. Temporal aspects of property rights should be managed and included. As data source, survey plans, floor plans, building information model data, and STIM-models can be used. For data schema to store the information, LADM-based schema can be used, or an extended BIM schema can be used. Semiotics and color and transparency can be considered. For the visualization platforms, the following functionalities can be needed: the zoom in, zoom out, color, transparency, spatial analysis, underground wave. And since we think in the study that the web-based dissemination, web-based visualization is considered, so we only investigate the web graphic library-based platforms, such as platforms or tools, iTowns, SMGS, OCM building, and so on. So what are the specific requirements for valuation, visualization and dissemination of valuation information? In the valuation case, the main users are considered the appraisers that performing the private and public valuations, and the customers of these valuations, such as the general public. The requirement characteristics in such a valuation prototype, of course, the value and the valuation date. In such a prototype, several value types can be shared, and for transparency and accuracy purposes, input valuation data can also be shared. For example, building age, floor area, parcel size, accessory part type, and neighborhood characteristics. A similar data source can be used to visualize valuation units in 3D, and as data schema to store both legal spaces of valuation units and valuation information. LADM valuation information model can be consumed because it includes not only valuation information but also the corresponding legal spaces, and it can be extended to include country-specific situations. So what are the functionality requirements, specific functionality requirements for dissemination of valuation information? Valuation information can be aggregated according to the use types and valuation unit group types. Aggregating valuation units into groups can be considered as the implementation of level of detail concepts in the visualization of valuation information. So in this study, we determined 6 different levels. For each level, different characteristics may be required. For example, in the street level, the minimum, maximum, and average values of the valuation units can be shared. In apartment buildings level, total or average value of an apartment can be shared. For example, in city level, the average values of valuation units that has different use types can be shared. This approach is similar to the sharing sales statistics, but in this case, the valuation information is shared with its spatial component. And I would like to, and please note that the valuation information model supports recording valuation information in all these different levels. So what are the functionality, specific functionality requirements? 3D view analysis can be required from a valuation information prototype. Support for thematic mapping and animations to enable effective dissemination of valuation information is required. And last 3 is also valid for the 3D cadastral prototype. Below surface visualization, support for visualizing below surface properties to identify valuations below the surface, below the ground level. Provide solutions for occlusion to identify valuation units in complex building, and support for 3D tiles to stream massive amount of data. We investigate these WebGL tools. We evaluate these WebGL tools, and our aim is to find an appropriate and web-based solution for visualization and dissemination of valuation information. According to the requirements, 2 web viewers came forward, SesumGS and 3D Tiles RenderJS. In our case, SesumGS was selected because it provides opportunity for 3D analysis tool, for example, visibility analysis. It supports time dynamic visualization by means of CZML format. With CZML format, you can create some animation and thematic maps. And the SesumGS is widely used in the domain of land administration by a large group of users, and 3D tiles format are also developed in the same group. Because of these reasons, we selected SesumGS, and this is the prototype we developed. You can see the condominium unit information. You can select each condominium unit in this building. As you can see, legal spaces can be identified and selected. And hovering over the condominium unit, the color of the accessory part of it is automatically changing. And when you click the condominium legal spaces of the condominium unit, you can see the characteristics, valuation information about these condominium units. For example, condominium use type, accessory part type, valuation date is shared in this level. You can also, when you click the parcel, you can reach an extra information about the parcel. For example, parcel unit value per square meter, date of parcel unit value can be seen when you click the parcel. You can also select the building. When you select the building, you can see some characteristics related to the building. For example, construction type, building age, and you can also see the unit cost price per square meter. And in the prototype, also neighborhood level implementation is done. In this implementation, the values colored are according to the average values of the condominium units in one condominium building, and we color this map. So, concluding remarks. Developing a web-based system for visualization and dissemination of valuation information and their characteristics is a challenging task. An identical or modified version of 3D cadastral prototype can be used for dissemination and valuation information with some additional characteristics and functionalities. On the other hand, it should be stated that having option to visualize both legal and physical spaces of valuation units in same prototype system would further support effective dissemination. The developed prototype shows that the LADM valuation information model complete schema can be used for data storage, which can be used as basis for visualization. and the aggregation of valuation units into the groups to share valuation information may be a good approach to implement. This suggestion may improve the communication with users. And our future works, I should note that this is an ongoing work. The developed prototype is not completed yet, and there is a lot still to be done. For example, the prototype system should be enriched with some extra functionalities. For example, more thematic mapping, 3D measurements can be added, and it needs to be tested with more complete data sets. And one obstacle is that it is very hard to find condominium level information even in a neighborhood. Therefore, a methodology to drive relevant spaces in a building should be considered. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. Good presentation. It's very interesting, this work. I think it's interesting to have a view about how to disseminate valuation information. And I like one of the questions. It was not the first one rated in the Q&A, but I like this one. Is where it is now? It's the last one, but I will take it as the first one if you like. So what is more important? Okay, this question: use a 3D model to disseminate the property value, or use a 3D model to compute the property value. So should we use both, or could you discuss a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think both are important. We should utilize the 3D models to drive some characteristics of property units. For example, 3D view can be derived from the 3D models, and this may change the property values significantly.
Yeah.
And also dissemination is important, because when you disseminate the property values across users, then it can pave the way for more transparent and more maybe accurate dissemination.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Okay,
both
and
are important.
Yeah, maybe a tiny question. So you have decided to use web-based development, okay? Did you consider other kinds of development? I was thinking about maybe augmented reality viewer using, for example, a telephone, or did you consider that, or?
No, in this research we did not consider that other types of implementation, because we think that the most common use to share value is for the purpose of taxation. When you would like to share valuation information related to taxation, I think the most easy way to share it via web instead of other approach.
No, I understand. Don't worry. So I think I have to ask the first question because it got 5 votes. So first question is, what data type is used to represent the building? Is it a 3D tiles? Are the legal spaces model in BIM?
We used floor plans to derive 3D spaces. We derive 3D spaces and record the PostGIS database as polyhedral surfaces. Then, using the polyhedral surfaces, we create 3D tiles. Are the legal spaces modeled in BIM? No, we used schema for. We use LADM valuation information model schema for the storage.
For the storage. Okay. So you didn't use any BIM. Okay. Yeah. I think it is the answer. The second question is, any issue with private issue value of home?
Last days, I also think about that, privacy issues, but we did not consider in the prototype.
Yeah.
I think this is also the case in the 3D cadastral visualizations. No, we did not consider the privacy issues.
Did you present your work to expert, to people who do the evaluation of house and land and in city?
Yes, actually, one of the co-authors, Ruud Kathmann, is working for the organization in the Netherlands. We wrote this paper with him.
Okay, but you didn't interview expert other than this the co-author. Okay.
Yeah, maybe as a future work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe the last question. And what about the value of airspace?
Yes. Today, evaluations, in most of the evaluations, the airspace is not considered when the values are determined. But if we implement the 3D measurement functionality to the prototype, for example, we can determine the 3D view of the condominium units, 3D view of the buildings, then maybe we can add as an attribute, as a characteristic to the model, to airspace. But for now, the value of airspace is not included in the developed prototype.
Okay, thanks again, Abdullah. So I will end this presentation. Good talk. And good continuation with your work. The next speaker, I don't know if I have to introduce him, but so the speaker will be Jesper. Nice to meet you again. Jesper, so I wanted to introduce yourself and your talk.
Thank you, Vincent. Well, I am Jesper Paasch, as some of you know from earlier today. I work at the University of Gävle in Sweden and Aalborg University in Copenhagen. And I have made a study together with my co-author, Jenny Paulsson from KTH, Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm, which I have the pleasure to talk about tonight or today, depending on where you are in the world. Well, our study is not as a study about things, objects like BIM and other things, but we have studied what you have been doing in the scientific community, or what we have been doing over the last years. We have made a case study, a literature survey to investigate, are there any new trends in 3D cadastre research? And actually, our paper here is based on an article we published earlier this year, which in turn is based on an analysis of 530 publications dealing with 3D cadastre 2012 to 2020, last year. And the title is, as you can see here, 3D property research from a legal perspective revisited. And I will come back to that last word later. But just to start with this article as an introduction, what did we find out actually? What have we been doing over the last years? We have been focusing on 4 major topics or areas: legal 3D cadastre, technical 3D cadastre, registration of 3D cadastre and organizational issues concerning 3D cadastre. I will not give any definition of them here due to time reasons, but please look in our conference paper and the article. What I said a moment ago that this is a revisited study from 2012 to 2020. And if we look at the distribution, we can see that most of the publications were technical or registration in our point of view. And that corresponds quite well with what we have seen today and will see tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. We are much focused on these issues, which are very important. And I would like to stress very much, we do not judge them being important, more important or less important. We just state what we are focusing on. But that is not a new thought we had making that study actually, because we have made an earlier study, a very similar one, showing 3D cadastre publications from 2001 to 2011. And that study was based on 159 publications. As you can see now, we have discovered almost 4 times as much. So the scientific community has been very active in 3D cadastre research. And here is just a picture of that article, if you are interested. But what's new in all that? Couldn't we just say stop now? We have done that and it was interesting to do. Well, we could, but we discovered in our last study here that we could see other trends, or what we could investigate as possible trends in 3D cadastre, which we haven't investigated yet in our 4 main areas or topics: legal, technical, registration, and organizational. And those topics are BIM, 4D cadastre, and then marine and water, and valuation. And as you can see from the number of publications, they are rather few. If we say that the total amount of publication was 530. But we still think it may be input for discussions. Are there any new trends, or are they just interest popping up right now? But let's start looking at what they actually are. Wait, well, I should not give a definition of BIM to this group here, but you are the experts. But a BIM is a process for generation and management of digital representation of physical and, for example, legal and other functional characteristics of geographic objects. And what we have discovered, that the BIM examples are used as a tool for property formation, registration, and visualization which you have seen here in this conference already, in the first day. Then we have strategic lessons have been learned.
Oh, is there any people who can help?
It seems that there's a connection issue with.
With the,
I'm sorry,
Yes,
something
okay.
happened.
Okay,
Come
he's
on.
back. Yes.
Something happened. I have to share again, I think. So now it's coming. I was just telling about some BIM examples we found. It's about property formation, registration, and legalization, which we have seen here already today. And for example, comparison of 3 types of BIM-based models for managing 3D ownership interests, and use of open BIM standards and BIM-enabled spatial queries, for example. And then the next topic is 4D cadastre. Development of the concept of 3D cadastre by adding a time element. And here we have some examples. Implementation of the concept of 4D cadastre for land disputes and national and natural disasters. Implementation of a data schema for the 5D cadastre. Data and implementation issues from conventional system to multi-purpose 3D and 4D cadastre systems, and conformity of LLDM for modeling 3D, 4D cadastre situations, and implementation of an LLDM version object class for spatial temporal 4D objects. And then the third topic is marine and water. We all would like, we all have a dream maybe of living by the sea and own a plot of land at a beach, and so water is a very important factor in land management. I would call it land and water management. And that can also be from legal aspect, who owns the area or the water area or the area down to the water, and technical aspects, as well as developing an international institutional framework and administration system for it. We are used to a land cadastre, but water cadastre are not that common. And then here are some examples. Synchronization of land register databases with the water cadastre databases, and 3D cadastre as a tool for water bodies account, and modeling of legal land objects for water bodies in the context of 4D cadastre, development of LLDM-based marine cadastres, organize the RRRs included in marine space, and to develop and marine administration model. And then the last topic we identify is valuation, where we use the 3D cadastral data for real estate valuation, and data source and geospatial analysis can be used to visualize the value spatial distribution. And here we have some examples. For example, possibilities of mass real estate valuation based on 3D vector terrain model, and the role of semantically rich 3D building models and 3D cadastres in relation to valuation and taxation, and the development of valuation approaches in relation to cadastres, and why and how the 3D GML modeling standard can be used in real estate valuation and transaction applications, and the use of 3D data for better quality value estimation in the context of the LLM valuation information model, and to develop 3D valuation unit profiles. So we can see there has been some interest in these areas, and they are quite evenly distributed among our research networks. For example, BIM is most Australia, the Netherlands, Korea, and Sweden. And they're just examples, there are more. And there are also 4D, Croatia, Germany, Turkey, Indonesia, Marine Water, Trinidad and Tobago, Greece, Argentina, and Valuation, the Netherlands, Germany, Turkey, the USA, and the United Kingdom, just as examples. It's an interest is quite widespread. But I would like to stress we have very little data, but it's a discussion point more than a conclusion for us. It is too early to conclude whether there are trends in 3D cadastre research or just only express temporary interests. And we would like to add a question to this presentation, and not just only answer them, but can we talk about new trends or even the 3D cadastre topic anymore? Is it too wide now, too widespread? Thank you. That was just a little introduction to what we have found during our study of 530 cadastre publications. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesper. Thank you. It's always interesting having such kinds of meta-analysis from literature review. Sometimes we don't have time to do that, but it's always revealing talk. So thank you, Jesper. So you take my question. My question was, okay, you reveal us the new trend, but for you, okay, let's say in 2050 or 2040, what would be the main tendency of innovation related to cadastre? What is your thought? What is your opinion about that? Could you say a few words, or?
Well, just now, if you look at the development now, there's much focus on standardization and modeling and technology, because there are new tools giving huge possibilities in the construction industry and the mapping industry and so on. Therefore, they are very important now. But we must not forget what we model in a 3D cadastre. That's the legal issues also. Who owns what, or who has the use rights to what? To have an easement on other right, and shall you have all the rights in your system? Well, it's possible, but it may cost a lot. And what is good enough?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I'm currently. Maybe can you close your sound? There is some echo. Okay, Thank you. And you can open it when you answer. So I'm currently preparing the presentation, and the topic is how can I give how can I valorize, give value or provide new value to cadastre data, and it's interesting to see where we can go with the concept of data. And from my point of view, I take the opportunity that I am the chair. From my point of view is, so we have to reconsider, and I think it's not a new idea, but to reconsider the concept of multi-purpose cadastre. So from my point of view, it is there, it's still there, but I think we have to promote it a bit more. And from my point of view, BIM, yeah, everybody is talking about BIM. From my point of view, we should not take advantage of BIM model, but BIM approach. Okay, what is BIM approach? Is having different people, different experts working in a workflow that is standardized. And when they want to integrate the 3D model, they are working on each side, and after that they try to find the conflicts between these models in order to have an integrated system. And I think from my point of view that we should learn about this approach of BIM, not only the model itself, and it's fully interested in having cadastral data integrated in BIM and so on. But yeah, okay. So I will take some question. The first one is it literature review confirmed that the BIM model are the most important data source for 3D cadastre right now? Well, that's a good question.
But well, it depends on who work with what and publish what. I think the BIM models are very important now, but there's also another trend coming. That's about organization and management of the 3D cadastre of the building constructions. Because now, if we go back in time and look at, we had the land book and land register, and we had a map, and then we combined them digitally in a cadastre, maybe digital cadastre. But we can go further also, organization who does what. And that is not in the mapping or BIM or GS area all the time. It's in the legal administration area, who does what, and what rights are allocated to what floors, to what staircases, and so on. But to go back to the question, it is, yes, the BIM model seem to be the most focused on topic now. I will not call it the most important. All are equally important, but most focused on.
Most focused one. If you look at the program of the 3D cadastre workshop, it's clear, it's there. So I understand, but is it the direction we have to go? Well, we have to, but we should not. It should not be the only one. So, and I think that's another question. And the question is, with all those interesting scientific topics, do we still think about the people in our cadastral research? So, so do you have some point of view on that point?
Well, if we by people mean the end users or the people living in the apartments and using the underground facilities and roads and bridges, and so we are not so much talking about them now. But if we look into the organizational and legal side, there is a bit more talk about it, but it could be increased, I think. That is an area we could develop more, because we do it for the people, I think.
Yeah, and is so important.
Yes, for the people.
So next question is maybe the last one, because I think, well, I don't know if, I think we are a bit long, but is there also trend on more formal semantic of the legal aspect? Did you see some aspect on that, about ontology reasoning, for example? Or?
Well, there has been some publications the later years about definitions and ontologies in land administration, and we have also an ontology model which colleagues published earlier. So work is going on in those areas also, but I think they could be more in focus, because it is the common understanding. And I think always, if we know what we mean, that's fine. If we don't know what we mean, that's also fine, because then we can start to discuss. But if we think that we know what we mean, then we can have problems. So we need to go back to the definitions and the ontologies. And of course, we cannot make a global ontology, I think, but area, topic-wise, that should be possible.
Yeah, for sure. And LADM is a step further in that direction, for sure. And maybe we can close this interesting talk. So and we can discuss maybe later, Jesper, about the future of Cadastres. So yeah, thanks again, Jesper.
Thank you.
So we're gonna go to the next speaker, who is Shen Ying. I think he is there. So Chen, would you like to introduce yourself and your topic, please?
Okay, thanks.
I think it's really late. Eh? What time is it?
Yeah, it's earlier.
Oh, earlier. See, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, I share my screen. I think it's better to take the camera off.
Yeah.
Thanks for the chair. I'm Shen Ying from China, Wuhan University. Also, we know now the time for us is almost 3 o'clock early morning. I would like to talk about the special description about the 3D building property, comparing the Earth's surface with real cases. With 3D utilization of the urban planning, we know that land administration tends to transfer from 2D model to 3D space, and also model building and construction technology support various 3D shapes. Many buildings in these slides show their special characters, like the overpass, viaduct, or strange shape. They attract our attention. So the parcel space is located at different elevations, both on the Earth's surface and above all under the surface. The State Council of China issued the document to carry out the 3D land administration based on core 3D cadastral technology all over the China. So it's a big challenge for us to implement this document to so many cities in China. But also we know that China is so broad that various 3D building appears that raise new challenges. Here show some cases. Buildings and construction normally have a plain ground with the same surrounding elevation. However, it was not always this way. Mountain area occupied 2/3 land area in China, and many buildings and construction built on unplanned ground, especially in Chongqing city, a very famous mountain city. The picture shows some scenarios in Chongqing. So when we talk about the buildings, we are very natural to be aware that the building located on the Earth's surface. Here, Earth's surface becomes a key reference for building to describe location relationships. If the different sides of the building are not flat or have different elevation, different height, where is the ground? Which level is the ground level? We should think about the spatial description. This slide shows the reality of one case. Two neighboring buildings have different grounds. They are not purely horizontal or vertical neighbor, but diagonal neighbor. For up left building, its ground is labeled as ground B. However, it's very clear that ground B is also the top of the lower building. So when we talk about the Earth's surface or the ground level, where? This is another case for the diagonal overlap in Chongqing city. And this video gives us a surprise. From the view, we know that this location is the plaza or platform, the ground surface for surrounding building. But when we move the place, we find two bridges. And under the bridge, there are still 28 floor building. So the ground is different at a different place or even for the same building. Also, I would like to emphasize that these cases are very common in Chongqing, the mountain city, not the minery. So in order to clarify the relationship between the building and the Earth's surface, we must make certain the Earth's surface morphology. We divide the Earth's surface into three types: planar surface, slope surface, and terraced surface, as the slide shows. Also, we define the bottom face for the lowest bottom face of the building, and also the base face that is where the building entrance locates, and this base face will touch the Earth's surface. Taking terraced surface into consideration, if we compare the building property with the surface ground, it could be four categories. That is, there is one base face that coincides with the bottom face. Also, one base face that doesn't coincide with the bottom face. We can judge them from the different height. And there are multiple base faces and only one of them coincides with the bottom face. If there are multiple base surface and one of the base face coincides with the bottom face, combine the elevation between another base face and the bottom face, there would be three types, as the slides show. And the case, and this case illustrates one type. Please be aware that here we only list the situation for one building. If there are multiple buildings involved, the scenario is more complicated. So clear description of relationship between the building property and the terraced ground can enhance the floor semantic about the building that could be crude or important for 3D property description. Even the ground surface is flat, we still need to understand the building space and underground space to get the correct relative locations compare the ground surface. We know modern construction techniques support the building and man-made to the air, to the underground, and the spatial location and the shape of a 3D building property in 3D cadastre should be clearly portrayed. Also, this explicit description should include a spatial reference to the Earth's surface. So 3D relative vertical location can be described in 4 types. The building is on the surface, in the air, underground, or across the surface. We are very familiar with the 2D surface parcel. So when we talk about the 3D building property, 2D surface parcel are often used to be as a reference. So this section illustrates the correspondence between the 3D building property and the 2D surface parcel. One 3D parcel may touch the more than one ground surface, ground parcel, like the overruled building connects 2 buildings with ground parcel, and the ground station connects several surface parcel by its entrance and the ventilation openings. When we think about the relationship in 3D space, one 3D parcel is inside in another 3D parcel, like the here, not really inside, but it goes through. The metro goes through the building in 3D space. Yeah, it's amazing things in Chongqing. I change it. So we can get the corresponding between 3D property, 3D building property and the 2D surface parcel in 4 types: 1-to-1, 1-to-multiple, and multiple-to-multiple, or multiple-to-1. So just a short conclusion. 3D building property is the main object in 3D cadastre. This presentation illustrates the classification between 3D building property and the Earth's surface with different cases. And also the cases are very common in Chongqing in China. So we must focus on the spatial description. It would be enhance the description of 3D and promote our understanding about the spatial situations for 3D building property. In the future, further analysis about the consistency between legal geospace and the physical geospace of building property and their correspondence can be made for 3D property unit, like the dissemination about the property unit. I hope with the fingers and with the cases, the demo, we can analyze the building property comparing the Earth's surface. We can realize the complexity to describe the 3D building property spatially. And also in China, we now have raised a Chinese national standard of spatial description about the 3D property unit. It will be used for the registration of the 3D property unit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
So maybe you can stop sharing the screen and
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So thank you. I would like to start with the first question. Well, it was really impressive, the train going in the building. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you explain me a bit more how ground surface are currently mapped in China or defined in China, okay? And why is it so important to have this ground? Okay, can you say a few words just to maybe to help us to understand why it is interesting and important to have your work?
Yeah, normally we think the ground surface is flat, and the ground surface around the building is same. But in mountain area, it's quite different. Even for just one building, the front has one height, but in background is another height. So different entries at different sites, they have different level of flow. So when we describe the property unit, which floor which floor your property, second floor, third floor, compared to different entries or different ground surface.
Yes. This question is important if you take into consideration that you are managing and storing relative coordinate in effect. So it is relative to the ground, okay? So, but let's say we imagine a world where we're gonna live with X, Y, Z, so absolute coordinate without taking into account ground. So the ground will be not there, okay? I'm not saying that it's a good idea. I'm just asking you the question, okay? Is it a possible solution, or is it?
Yeah, from the data management, we know we can use the coordinates to describe them, but in reality, we must transfer the information to the public, to citizen. So in their imagination, they use the normal language to describe where is my property, which floor, and so we should describe this, use the natural language to describe them. So that's why we should make a specific description and analysis for this specific case or special case, but it's not the special. In Chongqing, it's very common. Almost every building have different elevation around the building. So
okay. And that was my last question. Why did you consider in so you propose some classification of some categorization of ground surface? Did you consider the topological framework, for example, the one of Egenhofer, which is related to define spatial relationships between different objects? Did you consider that when you were trying to group or categorize your surface, or not?
It's a good question. For this presentation, I just classify them for one single building. If many buildings are together, we should make clear the up down about the surface, and in the database we can use the topological and the coordinates to describe the surface but it's quite complicated to deal with the topology. Yeah, topology. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so rapidly, a few times for questions. So could you define the Earth's surface? I think it was in relation with my questions a bit. Or could you define the Earth's surface?
We just use the base face and the bottom face. Compare the Earth's surface.
Okay. So the next question, who should be responsible for defining the location of the Earth's surface? Or who it is now, or?
I think if the government want to disseminate the identifier to the public, they should describe the location. So here they should give the definition about the Earth surface.
The Earth surface, yeah. But the Earth surface is moving, so
yeah.
That's another question. Okay, for a city, the last one. Okay, Jen, for a city like Chengpeng, would it be a huge work, example labor intensive, to clarify the legal and geospatial relationship? Any method to increase automation?
Yeah, it's very complicated.
Maybe you can chat with Vicky. She.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, it's too long. Anyway, the workshop is there for that. It's there to make people, even though we are remotely, we hope that people would take the advantage of talking together and be seated to tables and have the time to discuss. Although we don't have much free time, so the program is really full, and interesting. So
okay, thank you.
I think I would close this. So yeah, there is the last one. Okay, the last one. Which approach would be used for visualizing and managing 3D cadastres in Chongqing? BIM. The question is about BIM.
You mean the software or the visualization tools?
So is there any specific tools that they are using for 3D cadastres currently? What they are using?
Yeah, now for data processing, we use the SketchUp and also we programming. But for visualization, we use the game engineering.
Okay.
UE4.
Okay.
UE4.
Okay. Okay, good. So thanks a lot again, and I think so you can go return to your bed and have a rest. Etifia, Peter, is it okay? I think if we close this session, would you like to come back with me?
It's very good to close the session. Thank you, Jacinta. Yeah, I just want to say to everybody that we have one last part of the event today, which is a very interesting keynote from New Zealand Australian by the Surveyor General of New Zealand, Anselm Halen, and it will be on the other track. It will be on track A, so people have to switch to the other track, and it starts within 25 minutes from now.
Yeah, it's 4:45. Yeah, in New York City. So hopefully they will be there, people enough. So thanks again, Peter and Etifia, for this. Yeah, it is a really good program for 3. So I take this opportunity to thank you for this organization. It's a lot of time on your side, certainly. Hopefully, so we'll see in 4:45 in a few minutes.
Thanks. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.